Hi, this is B from Queens.
B, haven't heard from you in a bit. What's on your mind?
I know. Well, I wanted to do just a little bit of ranting
Sure.
because the way that people like myself have been vilified nonstop by the right is um, exhausting is a word, frustrating, infuriating, terrifying, all those things. And I was actually this past Sunday, one of the performers at like a drag brunch fundraiser for Kristen Gonzalez's campaign for New York State
Nice.
Senate, 59th District. Everybody look her up if you're in the new 59th District, which, by the way that they're gerrymandering New York is also insane, but that's a whole
Insane.
other
Yeah.
that's a whole other topic. But I was talking to her at the fundraiser about how frustrated I am that the only people talking about trans issues are people on the right. No, there does not seem to, you guys do a great job, and I'm very appreciative of you and other outlets that really, make an effort to defend us and also just, get it right and set the record straight when we get called groomers and pedophiles and all those fun things. But I really wish the Democrats would just get their shit together. And because it's not nearly as controversial as Washington would like us to believe.
Yes.
Most people in our country aren't assholes who want to deny me basic rights, but we've got Chuck Schumer sitting in the Senate being like, well, I don't want to do it unless I know I'm going to win. I'm like, girl, get your shit together. I honestly, what are they doing? What are the Democrats doing?
They
Nothing,
are afraid.
obviously.
I mean, it's the same impulse for why Nancy Pelosi won't say the word abortion. They run scared from these issues because they are too afraid to be aggressive on messaging to protect vulnerable people.
Yeah, I mean, they're not close to the actual issues. They're in very rarefied air. And it's like we look at Hillary Clinton. She made changes that she could be proud of at the State Department with regards to how people identify on their passports. And she wants to de-emphasize all that stuff now because she's afraid to lean into it. And it's a
Hillary
shame.
Clinton?
Hillary, yeah.
I missed that story.
And she, I'm pretty sure that's right. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but and that's a problem. That's the same reason. Like when the people, when you have power, you need to model a sort of culture. Otherwise, it looks like you said, with the not saying the word abortion, acting like it's icky. That sends its own message and is its own sort of policy in a way, and it cultivates a different sort of a democratic response in people. And the Democrats being, cowardly on these issues because fundamentally we keep saying this. Sean Fay, who wrote the book called The Transgender Issue, is where I got this point from. But this is just about people being empowered by the government to take control over their health. And that's as simple as it is. And there's people that are for that and people that are against that. And it's a shame to say that many Democrats are still against that.
Yeah, I think that's really...
It's very frustrating to see no one with a spine on that side of the aisle.
Go on, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing or going to agree with what Matt said. I think that Democrats like to frame themselves either because of ideological reasons or practical reasons as a party that has to be, open to everyone. They have to be the party of both landlords and tenants. They have to be the party of both LGBTQ people and homophobes. They have to be the party of both women who want liberation and also the men and their allies who want that to be squashed. Because otherwise, they might be, accused of being biased in some way towards oppressed people, which would be the worst thing in the world. But the reality is, like Matt was saying, that in the absence of being willing to take a stand, like they are in fact taking a stand, which is that this kind of thing is okay and that it is not worth their political capital to expend it in the service of trying to make long-lasting changes in the material conditions of the populations that they claim to be serving, because it might alienate another population that they need to serve. And like this particular, I mean, this inherent
But they're okay with
contradiction-
alienating a the population that is the one that the right is most afraid of. They always end up siding with the reactionary impulse.
Absolutely. And they have a lot, I think they have a lot of excuses for why this is necessary. A lot of it, I think, comes down to just taking those votes for granted, though. You know, you see it a lot with the black community, too, where it's like the Democrats don't have to promise any specific thing to the black community or any overarching chain that would overwhelmingly benefit the black community. They just have to not be Republicans. And the fact that they're actively constructing this party that is welcome to Republicans as long as they say they're Democrat is supposed to not be taken as a type of exclusion for the people who are not being served and who are actively being, you know, told to choke down their objections to the inclusion of these people because they have inherently disparate desires for society. Democrats want you to believe that the only desire for society that you should have is getting Democrats in power and making sure they can fundraise. And so that anything that works in that favor is the ultimate good. And anything that works against that is, you know, not politically feasible, not politically practical, like, you know, a pipe dream, etc. But I think that just, you know, fundamentally speaking, the Democrats, any institution that tries to play both sides, like a publication, needs to understand that there's no such thing as being ideologically neutral in that sense, especially when you can really easily understand what the ideology of something like the New York Times is or the Democratic Party by whose voices and whose concerns they choose to elevate and whose voices and concerns they choose to marginalize or, you know, considered to be pipe dreams. And in both these cases, our mainstream media and also Democratic Party, it's just very clear that they are conservative.
Yeah, it's very, I'm reminded of a phrase, which I will try to paraphrase here, which is, all it takes for evil to triumph is for good people to sit by and do nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm really tired of watching them sit by and do nothing, especially when, like, it's everyone, and that, like, people like Ben Shapiro getting up and be like, well, why do we care if they kill themselves? That's not even it. It's not just us committing suicide. It's people killing us. Like, I am very, very lucky to be white, because that's pretty much the only thing that keeps me from getting killed sometimes on the street. Like, that amount of privilege has definitely saved my life a few times, I'm pretty sure. Because if I were a black trans person, I've already aged out. Like, I'm 34 years old, and I am at the very top of life expectancy for trans people. You know, I feel like I'm on borrowed time, and no one is going to help us. The Democrats are just going to sit there and watch it happen and then send out a fundraising email about it. And
well, they won't even. They won't send out. They don't send out fundraising emails about trans people. Like they'll fundraise off abortion, but they're too afraid to touch this. And as Brandon and Matt were saying, not touching it, not acknowledging it is a position in and of itself. But B, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much for calling in, and good to talk to you.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks.
I also wanted to point out, you know, all those points were great, so I didn't want to interrupt. But I also want to point out that when they do talk about it, a lot of Democrats like to poo-poo on the discussion by just chalking it up to like a cultural issue. Mm-hmm. Trans rights are a cultural thing. It's not like a human rights issue, which it is. Yeah. I mean, it's not like some random debate over representation in a Star Wars movie or something like that. This is people's, and I'm not belittling that, the idea that representation in pop culture and media is important too, but this directly is a human rights issue, trans rights, and it's not some like cultural issue for Democrats to decide whether they should pay attention to it or not.
Yeah, and there's a de-emphasis in certain corners of the left as well, and I would say it's more, online, like leftist influencers too, who won't touch this issue to the degree that they should, or they'll couch it in something else. And I'm proud that this program it does not have that same hang up.
Yeah, and I would just like to issue a demerit to Kim Iverson of the Hill and support the Humanist Report because
yes.
She threatened to sue him. I don't know what the state of that is because he commented on her trans take on trans issues, and I think that's disgusting. Especially when these certain type of people like to present themselves as the people who are willing to ask questions are being suppressed by the censors, and then you run to and you talk about defamation law. It's super disgusting, and I know that there's better people at the Hill than that know a lot better than that. And like Olamide Olurin, I think she's a great addition to that show. Obviously, Ryan Grimm. And I just want to say, gross of what Kim Iverson did there.
And Kim and Robbie on a recent episode did platform Libby Emmons of the Post Millennial to talk about Leah Thomas being nominated as NCAA Woman of the Year. And I just, Emmons is a transphobe, so I am definitely looking sideways in that way as well as Matt.
Yeah, well.